you've got another timeline now. This timeline could not exist without the last one. Right. Which means it happened, and they did a really cool job with that scene where Nero says, "Don't tell me it didn't happen. I was there."
Yeah.
I love that.
It did happen.
It did happen. It just only happened for a handful of people.
Yeah. Well, since people experience time in a linear fashion, whether you're time traveling or not, for Nero, he's aging. Romulus explodes. He goes back in time. So even though he's back here, by his perception, he's over here.
He's over here, yeah. That's a really good way to put it. And so, this is not a prequel. This is a sequel that takes place in the past.
Exactly.
Now, I say that every time I talk about this movie, but I feel the need to say it again. And so in the sequence, you don't want to watch... I mean, Star Trek 11 is a good place for people to start, I suppose. I mean, I suppose... It's getting a lot of people into Star Trek now, and they're getting intrigued by it, but as far as the sequence goes, it's just like, don't start with Enterprise. Yeah. Don't watch Enterprise and then watch TOS because you'll be confused. Enterprise happens after Voyager.
Right.
In our opinion. Yeah. But with Trek 11, that's not opinion, that is fact.
Yeah.
Star Trek 11 really is number 11. It's not a prequel. It's not zero. There was talk about calling it Star Trek 0. I don't know if you know this.
Really?
Yeah, that was one of the working titles. If you look up on IMDb, it says working title Star Trek 0.
That's interesting.
I'm glad they didn't go with that because people would have thought it happens first in the sequence. It really doesn't. This is Chekhov Mark II. This is Sulu Mark II. Right. These are new characters rebooted out of the old characters.
Right. And if you...
But their essence is kept intact.
Their essence is kept intact, and even if you wanted to watch this as a new Trek, or as somebody who's never watched Trek before, you could understand everything that happens in the movie, but your viewing is really enriched if you go back to, say, Unification from TNG.
Absolutely.
Or if you...
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Exactly. If you've seen previous episodes that led up to...
And that did things like this.
Yeah.
What's neat about it as a movie is that it does something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
The idea of rebooting out of original continuity. Every other reboot is a brand new universe that has nothing to do with the other one.
Yeah.
This is taking a step forward. We're pushing envelopes, but this is the big but.
Yeah.
We're pushing envelopes in filmmaking, but are we pushing envelopes in storytelling? And that's where I get bogged down.
Right.
Because Star Trek is about story.
Yes.
And it's too
and
much
it's about
of it.
ideas.
And it's about ideas. And it's a good action movie, but it's not good science fiction.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I would totally agree with that. If you go back all the way to the original series, TOS, almost every single episode was a big science fiction concept.
Right.
Where you could just, I mean, the characters were moving around and they were showing how the various themes, I think they were, I'm not saying this quite right, but you could bring up a discussion after every episode.
Right, and sometimes they were preachy. Sometimes they were too on the nose.
Sometimes science fiction's like that.
Right, absolutely.
I think the farther you go with the series, the more they got away with it.
And if you look at the films, if you look at the other 10 films, even the worst of them, I can tell you what they're supposed to be about. I can tell you what they are thematically.
Right.
I can't do that with Star Trek 11.
Right.
I mean, the best I can do is it's about friendship. What movies aren't about friendship? You know, I mean, how many movies are about that?
And it's really not saying anything new about it either.
No, that's not a science fiction idea.
No.
Science fiction is about what if.
Yeah.
What if this? Wrath of Khan. What if? You were going to say something about Star Trek 5, weren't you?
Well, I was thinking that direction. Go ahead.
Star Trek 2 is what if you had a device that could create life?
Right.
And what do you do with that?
Right. And what if it falls into the wrong hands? What if that same device could also be used to take away life?
Right.
Before it creates life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, a weapon. Yeah.
8, even as much of an action movie as First Contact is what if the Borg enslaved humanity in the past? And I know that that's it's got stuff thematically. I mean, there's still stuff there. The Borg as an idea are, the masses taking over and taking away individuality. This is already something worth doing. You know what I mean? It's all every one of them. they don't all do it well. There are bad Star Trek episodes. Okay, I mean,
sure.
705 episodes, and they're not all good science fiction. That's the other thing.
No, and especially once, like I said, once you get to the later episodes.
and Voyager have their really dull romance episodes that have nothing to do with anything in a science fiction realm, or they'll have a B story that is trying to be science fiction but is only thrown in because this is supposed to be a sci-fi show, so it's there, but it's not really interesting or telling us anything. And so I'm not saying that Star Trek always does it right. I'm saying that I don't want necessarily for the foundation of Star Trek to be something that doesn't get that doesn't grasp that.
Yes.
And that's what I'm worried about.
Star Trek has to stay a series or a continuity based firmly in ideas and science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it strays a little bit from it, but you can't base an entire reboot on a film that is not science fiction and is not based thematically in deep ideas.
Now let's be a little more specific. What about it is not science fiction? I mean, why is it not science fiction? Number one, there's no science in it.
Well,
Red matter makes no sense.
No.
The black holes leading you back in time makes no. Now I like the time travel, but it doesn't make sense how they did it.
Right.
There's no science in that movie. Spock is not the science officer. He is a science officer, but he's not the one who figures anything out. Yeah. That bothers me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Chekhov seems almost better at this than Spock in this movie. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And once again, it's not about an overarching idea. Mm-hmm. Should we bring up the wars issue?
Briefly.
Briefly. Okay.
Yeah.
Abrams. And he's come out and said this. He wanted to do this. Abrams makes a number of homages to Star Wars in this film. Now, I don't want to take this personally. You know, I don't want to sit here and say and be this one of these Trekkies who's anti-Star Wars. I'm not anti-Star Wars.
I like the first three.
But they're two different things.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They're two different things, and so to take something that had 40 years of continuity and to make homages to Star Wars in it is. It's not. I don't. Like I said, I'm not taking it personally. I don't want to say I'm insulted by it, but it's moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
Star Wars is fantasy. Star Trek is science fiction.
Yeah.
What we're doing in this new movie is blending the two, and I don't like that.
I don't. Yeah.
I want them to be because the thing is, here's why I want them to be two different things. Because I want to be a fan of Star Trek, and I want to be a fan of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be such a thing as worst Trek.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Or Trek Wars, or whatever you want to call it.
Already.
People are already getting them confused. Yeah, exactly. And so they're two very different things.
Yeah.
Like I said, one is fantasy, one is science fiction. And why would we want to blend these things together?
Exactly. Yeah.
So Star Trek has never worked as well on film as it does in television.
Right.
Let's say that real quick before we close. And I mean, you agree.
Oh, I totally agree. We should do something.
You want to do a whole video on that?
We
yeah.
should. We should.
The thing is, as far as the future of Trek goes, I want to see a series.
Yeah.
I want to see another series. I don't want to wait every 3 years for another movie and worry that because we're going this new direction that they might be bad.
Yeah.
By the way, let me also say that it would be very easy to watch a good movie like Star Trek because again, it's good. And go,
good.
How could they mess up a sequel? I'll tell you how they could mess up a sequel. The first Transformers movie was okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people really like it, and I think it's pretty good. I am of the camp that says Transformers 2 was terrible.
Me too.
And it was written, and both of those movies were written by Orci and Kurtzman, who are the same guys who wrote Star Trek.
Yeah. And
I'm worried maybe they don't know how to write a sequel. Yeah. That's a worry I've got.
Well, and it could be that they worked so hard to get the first Star Trek reboot film right.
And maybe they can be a little lazier now.
Yeah, exactly. They can be a little bit lazier and not get quite all their facts straight, or be like, well, it's a reboot now, so we don't have to worry at all about original continuity.
And because of all of the people who loved this new movie who never watched Star Trek before, now they're going to make I think they're probably going to make a movie for those people.
Yeah, I hope they don't. I hope they still remember us Trekkies. But
right, but they don't need us.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? They could make a movie that's more like Star Wars and just slap the word Star Trek on it and everybody will see it. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm saying that even
Well,
if
we
it's
don't
good,
know.
it might not be the right kind of good. It might not be what I as a Trekkie would like to see Star Trek
Exactly.
continue as, and so
And
but
the new movie could surprise us all. It could go back to its science fiction roots.
It could.
And could be actually Star Trek, now that they've got the mechanics of how they're setting up this new
but I'm
universe
worried
out
about
of the
that.
way.
I
But it
don't
is a
see
fear.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but my biggest thing is, I think it would be easier to bring it back to its science fiction roots if it went back to television.
I agree.
That's the big thing for me. Well, thanks a lot for watching this two-part discussion about Trek 11, and we'll see you next time. Please give us a question if you have anything you'd like us to talk about, any episodes you'd like us to review on our next episode. Anything else you want to say?
Nope, I think that covers it. That was a fun discussion.
Okay. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And we'll see you next time on Ask the Treksperts.